and I guess if people could turn off their cell phones, that would be delightful. My name is Justin Hall. I'm the moderator for this panel, The Birth of Gay Comics. I think the first thing to do is just that we will go down the line here and just have everyone introduce themselves and explain what they do and have done, and introduce themselves. So, Robert, if you want to start.
My name is Robert Triptow. I was the second editor of Gay Comics. I edited issues numbers 5 to 13 in the 1980s.
And I'm Mary Wings. I wrote OUT COMIX as a response to Trina's comic, Sandy Comes Out. So I guess it's known as the first lesbian comic, written by a lesbian.
My name is Burton Clarke, and I did the story for issue number 2, issue number 10, did the cover for number 3, and I did a one-page story for issue number 25.
I'm Lee Mars, one of the original contributors, and I've done PUDGE Girl BLIMP is probably what I'm best known for in this context.
I'm Trina Robbins, and I actually did draw the first comic about a lesbian, but as Mary says, I'm the token head girl here, or the token fag head. I also did a comic, in fact, called I Was a Fag Head. I did a lot of comics, but it was really an honor that Robert invited me into Gay Comics. But I don't remember what issues I was in.
I'm Vaughn Frick. I'm an original contributor to Gay Comics. I don't remember all the issues I was in. I also had a solo book of my work published by Last Cast called OUT COMIX in about 1985, 1986. And mostly I did a lot of cartooning for small gay newspapers back in the day when we had more community newspapers. And it's great to be here at this panel. Thank you.
I guess the first thing I'd like to say, I mean, I think it's hard to overestimate the importance of Gay Comics. It was one of the longest running underground anthology series. We ran for 18 years. A lot of major cartoonists cut their teeth on it, from Alison Bechdel, Howard Cruse, Jen Camper, Andy Hartzell, Paige Braddock, and all the cartoonists here as well. I was just wondering from the panel, did you guys have a sense from the beginning that Gay Comics was going to be such a historic venture? I mean, not only was it a major creative venture, but also historic socially, because it was the first, one of the first kind of anthologies that would deal with the sexual underground and culture in San Francisco. So, was it, looking back on this, was it something that you were aware of during the time, or swept up in the course of events, or how?
Well, Howard discussed what he had in mind back in the latter part of 1978 and 1979. And at that time, he hadn't come out in officially. That was kind of amusing because anybody who knew him kind of knew, and but he hadn't said it, so Dennis, he and Dennis Kitchen got together, and it was entitled, first of all intended just to be a one-shot, and the idea that there would ever be gay bookstores or anything wasn't really in mind, but he thought he would give it a shot, and so asked me to give him the names of any lesbian cartoonists I happen to know, and so I gave him a bunch of names. But when the first issue came out in 1980, it was a total hit, and so Dennis thought it should, there should be some more issues.
Mm-hmm. Robert, you were the editor for quite a while at Gay Comics. Was it a difficult thing to find contributors? I mean, not everyone was out, as we mentioned, including Howard initially. So, was there? How did you go about trying to find contributors? And
Well, I was lucky in that Howard Cruse had put out 4 excellent issues before I took over, and so I inherited a stable of very, very talented artists. But the big challenge was finding the women cartoonists to fill it up, because there weren't that many lesbians cartooning at the time, for reasons I still don't know. So almost anything that was submitted to me by a woman got into the comic book, and I was out to recruit. I'd like to say something about your earlier question about whether we knew it was important. When the first issue of Gay Comics came out, I was a writer for the San Francisco Sentinel, and I came into work one day and saw the first issue in the editor's trash can. And pitched on and said, "You've got to let me write a review of this, and this is important." And they were completely ignorant of what it could be. But I remember saying in the very first review that I wrote about it that it was a groundbreaking thing, that people were putting their reputations on the line by appearing in it. People like Lee and Howard, especially, who had followings, who didn't know that they had any bisexual or homosexuality to them at the time.
If I may, I actually did a little research in my own house. I've got lots of boxes of stuff. And I went back and found Howard's original proposal that he sent out to artists, underground artists, to solicit, for the very first issue of Gay Comics. And he was very specific about the kind of comic he wanted it to be. And if I may, I'd like to read a little bit from that. What kind of book will Gay Comics be? I would hope that contributors will surprise me with creative, insightful approaches that I could never anticipate. I hope for some divergent points of view, including some with which I may have some ways of disagreeing. Still, as editor, I will inevitably be influenced by the tone of the book, so let me spell out the qualities I would most value in submissions. Number 1, emotional honesty. Since I'm no mind reader, this would amount to what seems honest to me. Number 2, laughs. I hope for human comedy derived from our own real experiences and not from externally imposed stereotypes or empty cant. Number 3, craftsmanship in drawing and storytelling. This is the quality I will sacrifice most readily if the first two are present. If possible, though, I would like reasonably clear, readable, involving stories. As with any underground comic book, there are no limits on what may be portrayed sexually or otherwise. But if sex is presented, I prefer it in the context of characters and human feelings. Gay comics should be about people and not about genitals. Also, please avoid polemics. Obviously, many of us have much to be angry about, and anger may be justifiably a persistent theme in gay comics. But broad generalizations and depictions of teeming masses in revolt are unlikely to be accepted unless the presentation is unusually entertaining. I'm interested in experiences of individual characters, whether fictionalized or autobiographical, realistic or slapstick, sympathetic or satirical. And last paragraph, gay comics will be read by both gay and straight people. While its truths may be hard and may offend some, I'd like it to be informed with the larger truth that gay and straight people are more alike than different, that searches for love and struggles against oppression are not the exclusive burden of any group. Heroic as we may sometimes be, clownish as we more frequently are, we straights and gays are all, most importantly, human beings.
Well, I would like to say that I was one of the denser people. Lee said that, if you knew Howard, it was pretty obvious, but I received that solicitation letter, I remember, and I thought, I should have known he was gay, he's such a nice guy.